So we are flashing back and forth from what was happening. We're back with the good lighting and day 2 of sickness. This book, and then it pops up into this. It is his memoir. So I think I said
koozie, which was my college mascot, and it is a Dr. Pepper.
Welcome back to Snark and Spark. Originally, I had planned for this video to be my entire month of November reading. But then, as you'll see, I got sick and I stayed home for about a full week straight. And in that time, I had no energy to really do anything else. I was completely tapped. So I didn't stitch. I didn't really do anything besides sit on my couch and read and watch TV. So instead, I just kind of documented every day what I was doing and what I was reading. And instead of a month-long reading video, for right now, you're getting a week in the life of Snark and Spark Sick Edition books read. So enjoy. So Bryant has given me his sinus infection and I am losing my voice, but 1, I finished a book, and 2, the light coming in through my bedroom window right now is spot on. I mean, look at the way it's making my eyes pop, and my glasses, and my red hair, which, yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take advantage of this natural light, which means I'm actually crouching on the floor in front of my window instead of sitting on my bed or in my chair. But can you see him? Hang on. Oh, that tan lump is actually Eisenhower sleeping on the bed. November is not off to a good start. I stayed home Friday, and I stayed home obviously over the weekend because I don't work on the Saturdays and Sundays. And I'm not going to watch it. It's like 3 or 4 o'clock here on Sunday, and I'm seriously debating whether or not I'm going to be able to go to work tomorrow, which sucks. But anyways, I finished a book. Also, my complexion looks amazing because I'm being washed out by this natural light. So I finished last night Station 11. And I don't know, in between a 3 and a 4, and this is another one where I'm gonna need to do the compile for it to know for sure if that feels right, like between a 3 and a 4. It was long. I just learned that it was also made into a TV show, like a limited series, like a 10-episode thing. HBO did a show in like 2019 or 2020 or something, a couple of years ago. So, topical. They made it into a TV show, and you can only stream it if you have a subscription to HBO, which I don't have. We don't have that. But my library that I work at does have the ability to for me to get a copy of it. One of the libraries in our network has it, so I put a hold on that, and hopefully I'll have that within a couple weeks, which is really exciting, and I will watch it. Side note, I like to watch TV or film adaptations of the things I've read after I've read them. And yes, my tongue is blue because I had a Jolly Rancher downstairs because my throat is really scratchy, so I was sucking on candy. Anyways, I like to read it first and then watch it, especially if it's scary, because then I have an idea of what's going to happen, and I definitely feel safer or more secure in watching something because then I know what's going to happen, and I like to see where it deviates from the source material. So I am intrigued and invested enough that I would like to see how it compares, and maybe that'll be a video or that will be thrown onto this. Who knows? I'm trying with this video again to be kind of like I'm taking inspiration from some of my favorite book talkers with this video. Kayla from Books and Lala and Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin. They will do some reading, then they'll cut to some like B-roll footage of them reading, or of them doing some other things that it's connected to what they're reading or what they're doing. You know, and they put some music on over top of that, and then they cut back to them talking, and I really, really like that. So I've been doing some of that already. I've tried to shoot some extra footage that I can use. Trying to try new things, trying to up my content, you know, or change my content up. So here's hoping. But let's talk about my thoughts on Station 11. I keep wanting to say Station 13, and that's not right because I'm thinking about episode 13. So I know that that's not at all the same thing. Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I talked about it in my fall books read and to be read video. And we are set like present day times, and this Georgian flu, which is supposed to be a variant of the swine flu, has rapidly come onto the world, this pandemic, and has completely wiped out, it actually said like 97 to 99% of the population. And when we are now looking at the events of like 20 years past the outbreak. So the majority of the population when this outbreak happened died within like 48 hours of contracting it. Like, it was very fast moving, it was very sudden. It came on like a classic flu or like a classic cold symptoms, and then you would just die within, like, there was no, they kind of described it like no blood, no, you didn't like lose all your fluids or anything like that. It wasn't like a wasting disease. It really seemed like you would become very, very sick. You'd get like a really high fever, and then you would just like pass out and die, or like your heart would stop. So it didn't seem too painful. Brain fog, but I'm trying to do this because I know if I wait till I feel better, I will 100% lose all of the plot details from this book. But I am definitely struggling to think clearly, more so than usual. So that has happened. Pandemic sets, wipes out like 99% of the population, and then from that point onward, they start then recounting up. So then we start in like year 1, year 2, so on, and we're in like year 20 of this. And we are following Kristen, who was a child when the pandemic happened, and she's now an adult. She was like 7 or 8 when it happened, so now she would be like 27, 28, so she's around my age. So she has grown up, essentially. She has this little bit of knowledge of what it was like pre-pandemic, and then she has spent the rest of her life. She lost her parents, she eventually lost her brother, and she was this child actress. She joined this traveling symphony, and their tagline is like, it's not enough to survive, essentially. So like their whole purpose is that they travel and they stop to little settlements or little towns or whatnot, and they perform, because it's not enough just to survive. You obviously need more in order to thrive. And I really liked that part of it, of, you know, they understand that we, even in this trying times where there is no electricity, there is no power, electronics don't work, we are fighting for survival, you still need more than that to be able to actually live. And they stumble across this town that is being led by this weird occulty person who refers to himself as the prophet, and he's really weird. And you know, about the end of days and how they're the chosen ones and all of this stuff. And it was this really long, meandering tale of survival following Kristen's perspective. And she gets separated from her group, and people get kidnapped, and then she gets separated, and they don't know what's happening, but they're all trying to get back to this airport. Like, they're all supposed to meet up at this airport. And it's like, that's her one goal, is to get back to the airport. And the story is told in these dual timelines. So we are flashing back and forth from what was happening right at the time of the pandemic to what is happening now, 20 years post-pandemic. And then we're also jumping back even further because we're also following the life of an actor. There is no good way for me to explain what this book is about without completely spoiling the whole thing. But it is supposed to just show the interconnectedness of all of our lives and how we do overlap even with complete strangers, and maybe we don't even realize it that that's happening, but our lives do intersect and overlap. And strong messages of just connection and togetherness, and how that does impact us as a species and as humans. I found that the ending fell a little flat for me. The big climax happened, and then I was just kind of like, that's it. Like, it felt like it got resolved way too quickly. I wanted there to be a lot more of a conflict than what really happened or what really was. In my head, I'm constantly thinking about The Stand by Stephen King, which is also a similar kind of deal of like, we're in this post-apocalyptic world and we do have this evil antagonist character that is like a prophet, but the conflict with him is intense and crazy and huge, right? And this book, Station 11, did not have that. And I think that conflict resolution really lets the rest of the novel down, because it is beautifully written. The writing is wonderful. I was really engaged. I was really absorbed by the characters, but really it's a book where not a lot happens, and when you get down to it, what does happen is boring. I didn't think a tale about survival post-apocalyptic pandemic would be boring, but it was. So I got nothing else. I'm just gonna end up repeating myself, so I'm gonna leave it here. Yeah. I'm also just now realizing I'm probably rosy because I'm feverish. So I'm gonna go rest. I'm gonna go back to drinking my nice warm decaf coffee and snuggling on the couch with my dogs and my cat. So I'll see you all soon. Okay, we're back with the good lighting and day 2 of sickness. I called into work today, and B has just left to go get our boy, and then they're gonna go to the store and run some errands and get some more medicine for us. He's doing better. He's still sick. My husband, Caden, is not, which is great. Our son is not sick. We've tried to really keep our distance from him because we didn't want to get him sick. But husband is feeling better. He also did not go to work again today, so that's 3 days he has not gone to work. I called in sick Friday and then I was home for the weekend and then called in today. He wants to try and go to work tomorrow. I want to try and go to work tomorrow, but I'm just gonna listen to my body. I'm gonna do what my body tells me to do. But we are back because being home and being sick does mean, unfortunately, I'm not doing any stitching. I stitched for a little bit on Friday. I actually picked up my stitching Friday and sat up here and stitched, which I never do, but I got in bed and got all comfy and I tried to stitch, and I think was maybe like 50 stitches over the course of a couple hours. Like, it just was not working. My brain is not functioning at a high enough capacity to concentrate on stitching and keep track of colors and counting and where I'm supposed to go and blah, blah, blah. But instead, I have been doing a lot of reading. And yesterday, I finished this. This is A History of Fear by Luc Dumas. This book... I'm getting a phone call. Hang on. Bless him. He called because he's at the store and he wanted to know what else I needed to feel better. Being sick sucks. Okay. So, as I was saying, I finished A History of Fear by Luc Dumas. I really, really liked this. This is probably a 4.5. If not a 5-star read for me. I did. I loved it. So we are following Grayson Hale. I didn't read the full synopsis, so I'm going to read it to you now. The devil is in Scotland. Grayson Hale, the most infamous murderer in Scotland, is better known by a different name, the Devil's Advocate. The 25-year-old American grad student rose to instant notoriety when he confessed to the slaughter of his classmate Liam Stewart, claiming the devil made him do it. When Hale is found hanged in his prison cell, officers uncover a handwritten manuscript that promises to answer the question that's haunted the nation for years. Was Hale a lunatic, or had he been telling the truth all along? Unnervingly, Hale doesn't fit the bill of a killer. The first-person narrative that centers this novel reveals an acerbic young atheist, newly enrolled at the University of Edinburgh to carry on the legacy of his recently deceased father. In need of cash, he takes a job ghostwriting a mysterious book for a dark stranger, but has misgivings when the project begins to reawaken his satanophobia, a rare condition that causes him to live in terror that the devil is after him. As he struggles to disentangle fact from fear, Grayson's world is turned upside down after events force him to confront his growing suspicion that he's working for the one he has feared all this time, and that the book is only the beginning of their partnership. Very good. So yes, the whole thing, we start with like a preface, an editor's foreword from Daniela. She is the editor of this book, and then it pops up into this. It is his memoir. So I think I had said we would read his memoir, and then after some chapters, not every chapter, then we get an editor's note where she includes various transcripts. Like, this is a transcript of an interview she did with his old roommate, or she has transcripts of an interview with his brother. At this one of these, we have like medical case notes. We also have sometimes she does like forum or blog posts that are referenced. Like, he will reference a blog post in his like chapter, and then like the editor has found that blog post, right? This is a snippet of a news article. Yes, I really, really loved it. I love that we had this alternating perspective from Grayson where he's detailing his life and how he got to this point and what happened, ultimately what happened with Liam. And this whole time though, you know that we already know what happened to him, right? We know that he's dead. We know that he was found dead in his prison cell after being found guilty of this murder. So this whole time though, you're reading about his thoughts and what led him to this point and where his mind was and what happened. And of course he's portraying it as one thing, and then we would get these snippets from the editor where it's completely different. And like the whole running thing is that he thought that he and Liam were best friends. They were best friends. And then we would get this snippet where like we had a text exchange between the victim Liam and who was Grayson's girlfriend Sophia, who was like, you need to tell him to back off. He's crazy. We're not friends. He thinks we're friends. We're not. So we're seeing this. Obviously there's something going on, right? There's a split in his psyche and he thinks that this is happening, but something else is what's really going on. I don't want to give any spoilers for it. And from what I've shared, it is not a spoiler. I definitely just want to say though, is like, I reached the end page and like read the last little bit and then I closed it and just like sat it down and was like on our couch and was just like, that was a good book. That was such a good book. I read this for 3 hours yesterday to finish it. I could not stop reading it. And that's been amazing. I love it. So yes, I do recommend it. I do consider this horror. I will say also there are some trigger warnings for obviously violence. There is religious trauma. There is relationship trauma that includes emotional abuse, physical abuse. You could even say neglect. That is detailed. Obviously, there is the violence towards our main character. I think I said religious trauma, but there is also some homophobic language and slurs. I can't think of any other triggers, but I wanted to put that out here because it does not, that isn't necessarily obvious when you first pick up the book, especially like I wasn't prepared for there to be certain like homophobic language or content in the book. It makes sense for the book. It's not the author being homophobic. I think he did it really, really well. The author worked it into the narrative. I just didn't know it was in there, so I like to give that as a, hey, just so you know, the author himself is gay and has a lovely husband, which I was like, oh, that's amazing. So yes, I give that a 5 stars. The other thing is I have started Mary by Nat Cassidy, not Nate. It is a male author. Nat Cassidy. Apparently he's also been an actor. I don't know. Anyways, so this is Mary. I read the synopsis, or I read the back of the book summary in a previous video. I started it today. I have like 2 bookmarks in here. Why do I have 2 bookmarks in here? I don't know. I don't need this. This is where I'm at. I am like 70 something pages in, 80 pages in. I'm almost 100 pages in, and I just wanted to give a brief check-in about Mary. So we are in the shoes of Mary. I want to say right off the bat, it has started off very strong, very intense. It is very, it is scary. It is horrific. So the book is separated into different parts. I am about to start, hello Kennedy. I am about to start part 3. So each section, each part has like a blank
a black page in front of it with a couple quotes. It has like a title, like part 2 says single serving. It has like a title, and then it has a couple quotes. And then we get into the book. I'm just doing it again. Each of these chapters have titles. I'm loving that. I love that they're chapter titles. And it's really, and I will say, it starts off on such a strong note. It takes us back. It starts off in April of 1969. Like, I'm going to tell you, the very first sentence, there's a corpse in the bathtub. That's how this book opens. Like, this book opens on a murder scene, and it is intense. And then it jumps to 6 years into the future, still in April, but then we jump to 1975 for the rest of like part 1. And then part 2 jumps us several decades, like 40, almost 50 years in the future. I think it is 50 years in the future. And then we're still in April, but April of 2019. And we are following, and now we are with Mary, who is going through something. And she knows that something is horribly wrong with her body, but no one is listening to her. The book opens, like her part opens when she has gone to a doctor's office seeking help, and the male doctor brushes her off and is just like, oh, you're perimenopausal. You are beginning to go through, you're going to go into menopause soon. You're almost 50 years old. Like, it's just your body changing. And she's like, no, something is wrong. And he's just like, no, you're fine. And at the point where I've just ended with part 2, she has gone to a hospital again, and once again she is met with another male doctor who is brushing her off as being menopausal or perimenopausal and is not taking her seriously. And this time she's like, no, and has tried to tell them everything, like, I'm having hallucinations, I'm seeing really weird things when I look in the mirror or when I look at other women my age. And this doctor is just like, oh, you're hallucinating. Are you sleeping? And she's like, well, no, I'm not. I'm having trouble sleeping. And when I do sleep, I'm having this horrible dream. And it's the same dream over and over and over again that is leaving me physically exhausted and not well rested. And he's like, so you're hallucinating because you're sleep deprived. And they all just brush her off as if it's nothing to be worried about. And she's like, no, this is a problem. And so we're already diving into these themes, these very heavy themes of women not being taken seriously, especially in the medical world. Us, we're told that we don't understand our own bodies, that we don't really know what's happening in ourselves. I will also give the author credit because the author does do an author's note at the very beginning where he does give some trigger warnings, and I really, really like that. He also talks about his inspiration for this book, that he got a lot of inspiration from Carrie by Stephen King, plus like the movie rendition of it, and he wanted to, pay like homage to that. So this is not a Carrie retelling, but it has those vibes. And he does say, Mary is about bullying, the societal kind, the kind we all grow up into and begin to accept because it's just the way things are. It's about loneliness and isolation, and, well, you'll see. But I love that he starts off with a quick heads up of like some triggers. And I'm going to share those in case you want to go into this as well. This book has mutilation, animal death, and implied sexual trauma. Also misogyny. Lots of it. Internal and external, implicit and explicit, intentional and probably unintentional, although I'm immensely grateful to my sensitivity readers for their help in addressing my blind spots. There's a good reason for this, but again, you'll see. I won't say more. It just felt right to let you know ahead of time. And I really appreciate that. I do. I knew it was going to be, it's a horror book. You're going into some of these, but I do appreciate when they do put some of those more intense trigger warnings at the beginning of the book. Also, this is a pretty lengthy book. It is over 400 pages, like just barely, but it is 400 pages long. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this update here. I am gonna go back downstairs and read a little bit more because I got nothing else going on. So I'll check in soon.
Where are all these people going? Why is everything running?
Okay, so I am sitting in the school parking lot of Caden's school because I am on day like 3, 4 of, sorry, there's a woman walking. I'll try and, I don't want to show faces that aren't mine. I'm on day like 3 or 4 of sickness. Thank you, B. I called in work again today, so it's the 3rd day I've called in sick, which sucks. But I'm normally off tomorrow anyways, and hopefully I'll be better by Thursday and can actually go to work. I hate calling into work. Does anyone else do this? I have this like irrational fear that they're gonna be like, you're faking it kind of thing, and then like deny my time off request, which makes no sense because I've never done that sort of thing in my work history. So whatever, I think that's just a weird fear of mine. But I am sitting in the school parking lot because I am just miserable, and the thought, normally I park at the edge of our neighborhood and then I walk the rest of the way to Caden's school, pick him up, we walk back to the car, and then we drive the rest of the way home. But the thought of having to like go outside and walk to pick him up just sounded so draining, and I'm already just exhausted. So yeah, I decided instead I would leave my house ridiculously early to get a seat in the car pickup line and wait for him. So I'm here like over half an hour before school even gets out, and I'm several cars back because people get here ridiculously early to line up to get their kid. Why do we do this? Why is this a thing? Anyways, I've brought with me Mary because I am, you can't tell where my bookmark is in the sunlight. I am about that far through, which is close to halfway, but I am really enjoying it so far in a weird way. It is very bloody. It is very intense. Definitely a lot of body horror in this book. Lots of gore, talks of mutilation, and stuff like that. So this book, though, never slows down. It is intense constantly. There is no downside. There is no lull. It is never ending. I don't want to say action, but like something is always happening. Something is always dreadful. Something is always unsettling and very intense. And then if it's even possible, it's ramping it up even more. There's also this underlying hint of some weird religious beliefs that is going on in this like small town in Arizona or wherever that she's from. Some hints at some weird religion or maybe some like cult-like beliefs. Yeah, so it's starting to kind of delve into that, but it's definitely, I didn't think it's possible to ramp it up even more, but it is. The tension is really ramping up. So yeah, I'm gonna read. I like to roll the windows down because even though it's chilly outside, sitting in a car with a black leather interior with the sun beating in gets a little hot. And I will fall asleep even if the book is super good. If it is warm and I'm cozy and I'm reading, I will fall asleep.
so I need to crack the windows to keep it cool. And I did bring a Dr. Pepper. It's in a koozie. It's in my Hoosier koozie, which was my college mascot. And it is a Dr. Pepper and cream soda. I really like it. So I'm gonna drink my Dr. Pepper, read my book, and I'll check in later.
All right, so it is Sunday, the following Sunday from when I started filming this sick journey. As you can hear, I am still a little sick. My voice is still rather scratchy. I'm trying to speak louder and it's just making me sound scratchier. My nose is still really stuffed up. It sucks. And I am also enjoying that time of the month. So I am just feeling awful. But I'm gonna wrap this video up, my week in the life sick edition, with telling you I finished Mary, and oh my god, did this take a turn. 4 stars? 4.5? Somewhere 4.25. Mary, An Awakening of Terror by Nat Cassidy is a ride. I don't know if I can safely recommend this generally. I think I would really need to know someone's reading type or what they're interested in reading or what they're comfortable reading for me to recommend this. It is intense, and I know I've said that word a lot in all of my other clips, but that is the best word to describe this. It is bloody, it is gory, it is violent, and it is horrific. I feel like lately when I've been reading horror, I keep saying they're not horror. This is horror. There is no mistaking what this is. It messed with me a lot, to the point where I tried to start another book. I've tried to start episode 13 and I've only been able to put like half an hour into it, and I keep thinking about this book. So I'm like, I'm gonna film this and then I'm getting rid of it. It's going back to work tomorrow. Mary is starting to go into menopause and things are changing. Her body is changing. She's experiencing, but on top of that, she's also experiencing these really weird, like paranormal, supernatural things. Like she looks into a mirror and it looks like she is decaying, and she can't look at other women her age because it looks like they're decaying, and no one is taking her seriously, and she is upset by this, and she is angry, and she just wants to be listened to, but at the same time, she feels like we all do, that we have to be good, right? We can't make a fuss, we can't make a stir, we need to be good. And she decides to leave New York and go back to this small town in Arizona to take care of her ailing aunt, and it just goes off the rails from there. It is very fast paced, it is very quick moving, there is never a dull moment. It is go, 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 go from page 1, and it does not slow down. Even the ending is, and I think the ending is why it's not a 5 stars for me, because I felt like we had such a great experience, and then the ending just was left lacking. There's Kennedy, come to join us. We have this great story being told, and then from Mary's perspective, the whole book we're in Mary's perspective, first person. Then the last chapter is told in a series of transcripts from excerpts from a book that was written, and then newspaper articles, And then like we have like evidence and like transcripts of like interviews. And that's just, we have a transcript of a podcast. And then we have an epilogue that then switches to second person perspective, and then it's you've seen her before, you've noticed this, and we're kind of back at Mary, but we're kind of not with Mary, and it's interesting. I will give a huge credit, because at the very end though there is an afterword written by the author, and it's afterword, or what's this asshole doing writing a book about menopause? And I really, really appreciate that, because he does admit, like, this is a man and he's writing a book about a menopausal woman. And I just wanted to share some of this because I think it is so incredibly important. If you've watched me for any length of time, you know I have strong feelings about womanhood and feminism and stuff like that. And so I just think it's so important to have these conversations. So I just want to share a little bit of his afterword. Art and the creation of it is supremely fucking difficult and complicated, and we don't always get to pick the stories that call to us, let alone the ones we're able to carry over the finish line. All I can really do is present this story as effectively as I'm capable of, honoring the material with all the humility, curiosity, honesty, and due diligence possible. In this particular case, that meant reading several books on peri/menopause, watching countless videos, running the manuscript by several of my friends who've experienced it, and of course, putting my trust in my brilliant editor and her candor to keep me in my lane whenever I might start showing my ignorance. Is that enough? Again, I don't know. This all just feels like the bare minimum, really. Here are some things I do know. Menopause is an incredibly important topic of conversation, and like many topics involving bodily functions, doubly so if they're so-called women's issues, our culture avoids it with an effort so concerted it borders on panic. This despite the fact that menopause is something pretty much every person with a uterus, or who had a hysterectomy or is transitioning, or half dozen other scenarios will experience, and it's something every person with a person like that in their lives will experience secondhand. It's a challenging, fascinating, nuanced, vital biological rite of passage, and hell, I very much agree with Mary when she makes her offhand comment about how sad it is we don't have a cultural celebration for middle age, a second puberty, this time while navigating bills and adult responsibilities and relationships. That shit's intense, and it deserves some goddamn honor and respect. And I appreciate that. I am not going through menopause. I've not had a hysterectomy, but as someone who will eventually experience that in her lifetime, yeah, I am scared because I don't know what to expect. And having this dialogue is incredibly important. And finally, he shares why the book is narrated in first person through the eyes of Mary, because he wanted access to the voices in her head. And there is a lot of misogyny in these pages, and he does say, I felt I could write this book because I know that voice. I have been around that voice, and I have been that voice. I may not know what it's like to be Mary, but after 39 years as a man in this world, in my darkest, most uncharitable thoughts, in the hardwired, misogynistic training I've received both concertedly and unconsciously, and am working hard to unlearn, I sure as shit know what it's like to be a Damon Cross, aka a horrible man. To judge women for their youth, their solicitude, their convenience, their use. I think we all do on some level, and we've got to own up to those instincts, those poisons, if we're ever going to fucking change things. Kudos. Like, I really appreciate what he's done, the thought, the research, and the effort he put into writing this book to give it a real perspective, a real narrator, and not just a poorly written female character written by a man. So other than that, it was just that ending. I loved that we were with her, and then the last chapter is just transcripts, and that fell flat for me. But I did really enjoy it. I did really like it, but I cannot safely say go read it just because I do know the amount of violence that is in this book was difficult for me, as you saw in some of my clips of me reading it, my facial expressions. Part of me wishes I could have caught me reading the last little bit of this book on camera, because I know the face I made was like, and amongst others. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm gonna leave this there because I am tired and because I do want to edit this and get this uploaded today. But you'll be seeing me soon. I plan on reading a lot more this month. And I'm sure I will have more updates as we go through the holiday season. And yeah, I plan on just having content available. So I'm gonna go. Miss Kennedy is as adorable as ever. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back. I know I keep saying that, but happy watching, happy listening, happy reading, happy stitching, happy listening, happy doing whatever it is that makes you happy doing. Be easy with your hearts.